Brodes Media.
This Joel Embiid piece, it's just so complex, and there's so many different layers to it. So bear with me as we walk through all the lanes here. There are so many different paths. I guess we'll start with a very vanilla statement, even though it's well documented where I stand on Joel. I have always been a supporter of Joel Embiid. I appreciate Joel Embiid. He's not perfect. There are flaws, but I enjoy Joel Embiid. With that said, I've been very clear over the last few months that we have reached a breaking point, and I know financially they are tied at the hip, but because this organization has hit a wall as currently constructed, I would try and find ways to maneuver through and move past the rest of this Joel Embiid contract. I'm aware of how difficult that is. I understand how extreme that is. I would be willing to see if it was possible, just because I think this era is unfortunately not going to pan out. It has nothing to do with me thinking Joel Embiid is a stiff. I just don't think, unfortunately, the stars are going to align here. Okay, now with that said, let's get into the point of this piece. It's pretty clear. Joel Embiid wanted to get out his side of the story. The way I label it is, it's sort of like watching Joel Embiid crash out in real time, but it's justifiable to crash out based off of everything that he has gone through. And half of you may hear that and cringe because you hate the person Joel Embiid for some reason, and others are going to sympathize with him because, rightfully so, he has been going through a lot physically with the wear and tear on his body. And it's not because he ate Chick-fil-A at 22 and he liked Shirley Temples when he first got here at 20-something years old. It's because my man is 7'2" and you want him to be superhuman. Some 7-footers survive. Other 7-footers break down insanely and never reach their full potential because it's not supposed to be that level of workload for that large of a human. And that's why, more than anything else, the Joel Embiid experience has hit the wall that it did from a body level. He just can't stay upright. He's had 1 billion knee surgeries. Then he gets a knee surgery, and then he drops 50 in Game 3 against the Knicks. He drops 40 in Game 6 with the series on the line against the Knicks. Not a perfect player. We'll talk about his flaws. I even think there's flaws within some of the statements that he made within this article. So it's not just going to be one big love fest, and the only thing I'm going to do is defend him to the max, but I'm going to defend him more than not because I think it's so misguided to hate Embiid for being a loser, for being out of shape, for being a fraud, for being a criminal and stealing money and a thief and this and that. And it's just so out of touch with reality. It's not even funny. So again, I go back to Joel Embiid does this because he's almost at a point where he has to protect his image. And I get it because he is being dehumanized in a way. And I get it. It's got to be frustrating. Would I have done it? No, probably not. I probably would not have done this. But I don't think he's wrong to do this because it takes this level of incompetence around you and this level of reaction by certain fans for long enough and them being loud enough. I get it. We are people. And just because you get paid a lot of money to play the sport, it doesn't mean you're not allowed to feel an insane amount of pressure, an insane amount of frustration when there are stories and stories of bullshit getting written by others and saying nasty things. And listen, I'm not afraid to say this because he's a colleague of mine, but you got a columnist in Marcus Hayes going after one of his family members who lost their lives and comparing that to the way that he approaches the game of basketball. And there are people who are defending Marcus Hayes saying he did no wrong. And I'm supposed to believe that there haven't been any lines crossed in the dissection of the Joel Embiid experience? You can discuss so many things about Embiid, the basketball player, but for some reason, it has reached wow. you're an asshole for thinking that way about Joel. I'm just saying, that's where it's gone with a lot of fans out there. And I don't know how we got here. I guess it's this. As we workshop this, I think it might be pretty self-explanatory. Joel Embiid is that amazing if he can stay healthy that you're subconsciously so angry you're trying to find reasons on why this is happening. Whoa, it's got to be this. It's got to be that. It's got to be this. Or there really is no explanation other than you want him to be superhuman and his bones and meniscus to work in ways that they're just not going to work. Do I like the fact that Tyrese Maxey had to call him out? Absolutely not. I don't think that's the right way a leader should go about his business. I don't think Bryce Harper's a great leader at all. But I think his value is tremendous on the field when healthy, to the point where his lack of leadership, that's why we talk about Schwarber the way we do. That's why we talk about Reese the way that we do. But he still brings so much when he is doing his thing on the field that's a flaw within the Bryce Harper experience, but I'll live with it any day of the week. Same applies with Embiid. I don't like that. I don't like the fact that he's late and he's not communicating with teammates and this and that. I don't like that. Do I think he's a bum and a fraud and a loser and a joke? Tell me more about Allen Iverson. Tell me more about the way Allen Iverson went about his craft. Was he at practice doing his thing? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. He did not give it his all. He's beloved. Charles Barkley never won here. He's not a loser. He's not a fraud. He's not pathetic. I don't understand why it gets applied to the intense, aggressive nature that it does for him. Is it just social media now, where everybody has a voice, so you can be a total jerk off and hide behind the keyboard, so you're constantly getting flooded with hate and hate and hate and hate and nonstop over and over and over and over? I can only imagine. Listen, I give my sports opinion for my job, okay? And the amount of times I am called ruthless things is insane. Now multiply that by 50 billion, and then that's Joel Embiid on a day-to-day basis. I get it. But if you don't see why there is the love and the, hey, Joel, we stand with you crowd, after listening to the way that he has a difficult time with trust, after listening to the story with the physical trainer who was with him forever and getting calls at 2:30 in the morning, and she's saying, yo, listen, Joel, you don't have to do this. You don't look like you can do this. And then Joel eventually has a split with her, and he feels that she abandoned him, and those type of things based off of his upbringing and based off of some things that happened in his life. It's hard to not sympathize with that, but at the same time, you got to realize she's not abandoning you, and that's where some of the maturity stuff of his group chat and the communication, the lack thereof, and not reading his text messages and still focusing on who was the leak with the Tyrese Maxey story last year, and that still being an emphasis, and that still being a focus, and that still taking up time in your brain, and that eating you alive, and not being able to shake that, and the person still being in the locker room, and now you don't want to show up to any more meetings because of it, and those type of things. Yeah, it's not great. I won't defend that. It's not good. But if we're going to make the pros and cons list, the list of pros with Joel, healthy, is 75 times longer than the other side of it. But you wouldn't think that based off of the reaction. And keep in mind, I'm a guy that is willing to admit that it may just have run its course. And I do think that this is a first sign of a potential breakup. Now, truth be told, it's going to be so hard, it's going to be extremely difficult, and maybe even nearly impossible. But the only reason why you do this, other than defending your own image, is you're airing out the dirty laundry because enough is enough. And I almost wonder if he wants it so publicly known to the league that I'm not thrilled here anymore. Look at the way the Sixers have handled this since 2014, since early stages of my tenure. This is a flat-out disaster. And it's so incompetent. Save me. Was this a call for help? And maybe it's just one of those things where it's best for both parties. You're not going to get crazy compensation back in return or personnel back in return that's going to wow you, but it could be something where it's addition by subtraction just because it's a different energy shift and it's a different focus moving forward. And it's a total different brand of basketball. Not because Joel Embiid is a stiff and a loser and I want nothing to do with him. But you only go this route if you are walking out the door in a way. Or it's him saying, this is how I feel. This is how devastated I am. That I'm going to go public with a 980-page piece that will wow you and it will be very in-depth. I'm airing it out. But there's only one place to go from here, fucker. There's only one way to go from here. Because we have this deal intact. My risk of injury is legit, and nobody's going to want to take a flyer on it. I'm devastated. I'm disappointed. But now that we have a fresh, clean slate, you hear me out. You heard me. Maybe he was trying to express this stuff and not a damn soul was willing to open up their ears. No one was willing to listen. So to get to the Sixers, this is what he deemed reasonable. How about that as a potential move by Embiid? And if that's the case, I actually like that the most. Forget the image. Forget trying to prove to people he's a certain way. Forget trying to get a call for help and it's so desperate that you're trying to reach a different city. My favorite hypothetical of them all as we workshop through it is, this is to get to Joshua Harris. This is to get to Daryl Morey. This is to get to the Sixers organization that we need to clean shit up. We need to get our head out of our asses and get on the right tracks.